When I was younger, I would see myself the way that other people saw me because I didn't know who I was. And that seems ridiculous now because they didn't know who I was. They judged me based on the color of my skin. They assumed that I loved rap music, which I don't. I mean, I appreciate the art, but it's just not my thing. They would throw gang signs at me thinking it was cool and I would know what they were doing, which I didn't. People would just judge me based on what I looked like.
I think we're judgmental for good reason. We need to be judgmental to survive. It's our way of understanding the external world and our internal world and making sense of it. So I think it comes from a noble place and a place of that's deep within the human condition to wanting to survive and thrive.
We judge people because it's like a coping mechanism. It's a way of survival. It's a way to like stay safe.
I think in some ways it can be quite healthy to be a little bit judgmental. It's part of being human to judge other people and to judge ourselves, to judge other people's behaviour, what we see, how something makes us feel. Sometimes we judge things poorly because we aren't able to go deeper or be empathetic or understand what something is because it takes too much time sometimes. So I feel like we judge because it makes something so much easier to process.
Why are we judgmental? It's first of all, it's human nature, right? I think at the start we have to be judgmental because it's a protection. So, it protects us, it keeps us in our comfort zone. And the way that our nervous system works is that our bodies and our minds do everything they can to keep us in comfort because the brain doesn't understand if a threat is real or if it's just imagined. So when we're keeping in that comfort zone, we judge because it gives that security that we know what we're talking about, and it also gives us physical security. Like if you're walking down the road and you make a judgment call, hey, this person looks dangerous or whatever, that also gives us that security as well.
I think that when we judge someone without all the information, that says so much more about us than it does about them.
I really believe that from such a young age, it is instilled in us in a way that you don't even realize it's happening. It's listening to your elders around you look in the mirror and say that they're fat. It's looking, on TV and seeing, this certain image and this certain person that we groom to almost believe that that's what we should be like. And when we do not fit that, it's almost like our head naturally starts to look at what's wrong with us. And then I think it's just like a flower and it just keeps growing from there if you don't, nip it in the bud really early.
I judge myself in several ways. Certainly professionally, like I'm a musician myself, and I think at the best of times, we're all our worst critic, especially when what you do for a living is something that's so personal and such an expression of yourself that when you're not happy with what you're putting out there professionally, it's almost like you're not happy with the expression of something inside yourself at the same time. And that's can be a really confronting and frustrating and distressing thing.
How I judge myself is like just very meaningful stuff, like based on my character. Like, even though I'm only 23, I feel like I've gone through like so much, and I can like confidently say I've said like the nicest things, and I've also said like really, really, really bad things. But knowing that I'm still here standing with people that support me is like amazing and like crazy for me to even say. So, and like kind of makes me emotional, you know, because, you know, I think I always had this fear that, like, I would be alone if I did something wrong, or like I would always try to say that, you know, like people, like we are like the greatest thing we'll ever experience, like, and you can't change that at all, and everyone else is too. So like, where do you stand? Do you just kind of like be perfect all the time, or like, you know what I mean? So I think this feels really messy, but
All right, with a magnifying glass. It's all well and good to say these days that it's all about self-love and self-care and, you know, looking inwards and being proud of who you are and what you are and how you've been made and created, but it's not that easy.
My ex relationship was with a female, but interestingly, because we didn't, I guess, look gay or act gay, I found it really interesting that people wouldn't judge us or our relationship as harshly. It was almost kind of like the feeling that I got was like we all women were able to get away within the society that we were in, because when you walked into a room, we didn't fit the stereotype. So it allowed people to not judge us straight away or stereotype us straight away as the gay couple. And then it allowed them to figure out or get to know us as ourselves. And then when they realize that we're actually together, they've already formed their judgment on us. So the fact that we were in a same-sex relationship wasn't a part of their judgment initially. So yeah, and the funny thing was I kind of always struggled a little bit with that, because I kind of felt like we were getting the easy way, right? Because I have a lot of friends who are lesbian and who are gay and had to go through that process of having to come out to people and have to processing it and dealing with all that judgment. And then here we were kind of almost getting away with it.
How do I judge myself? I guess the answer would be too long to say. You get bored. There's a judgment.
Growing up in Australia as a brown girl, I just wanted to fit in. I didn't want to stand out. So I straightened my hair, I bleached it blonde, I stayed out of the sun. I just wanted to fit in with everybody else. I think I just judged myself based on the judgments of others.
I think before becoming a mother, judging myself was very, very different. I would not turn up to events. I would say I was going until the last minute, and my hair wouldn't sit right, and my clothes didn't sit right, or my energy just didn't feel right, and I would literally just sit there and just pick myself apart about everything that I possibly could, without even thinking what anyone else was going to say or think about me. After having my daughter and realizing that my words are going to raise her and really give her foundation of what her self-worth and how she looks at herself, I've really had to shift that. You know, I will never say the word fat around her. It's not allowed in my house. And the way I speak to myself now is so much kinder, because they're the words that I want her to hear when she looks at herself in the mirror. And I know if that doesn't start with me, it's going to end with her. So I'm a lot kinder to myself now that I'm a mum.
Can we solve judgment? No. It's just something that's out there. It's needed to survive. We need to judge people to survive and just make choices to be like, hey, like how can I go in this situation? But I think also we should give people a chance. Don't be so off-putting, because then you don't get to experience life. So experience life, experience all the mess, feel through the feelings, cry if you need to, be happy. If we have this amazing thing called intuition, and it's the most beautiful thing, and all I truly, want to encourage you to do is just be honest with yourself, trust your gut and nurture that intuition that you have, because it's there for a reason. And I know that a lot of you guys are going to get confused between being judgmental for no reason and intuition, but it's a journey. So go out there, embrace it, meet who you want to meet, don't hurt who you want to hurt. Don't hurt who you want to hurt, but, you know, let yourself out there and see who stays and choose who you want to choose. And yeah, don't be hard on yourself. Just embrace life.
If I could give some advice to my younger self or anyone else listening, it would be that if you feel inclined to judge someone without any information, with limited interaction, it's usually coming from something about yourself that you're not satisfied with, and you're better off addressing the problem at the root of the issue. You're better off going inside and building yourself up rather than seeking out someone to drag down to your level to make yourself feel better. I think, yeah, comparison is the thief of joy, and you don't want to go down that route.
So there are a few things along the way that I've learned, and one of them is saying yes, and it is like a 3, 2, 1, just do it. Don't give yourself that time to really sit and pick yourself apart, because the longer you stare at yourself in the mirror, the longer you sit with your own thoughts, the more you'll find to judge yourself on. This is probably one of my biggest fears. Like, I can talk in front of 1,000 people without batting an eye and super confident, but sitting in front of a camera and being vulnerable like this is something that old Alicia would have said no to, because I would have judged my voice. I hate my voice. Like, you know, I could have just, no one wants to listen to me, or I don't like how my face turns up on camera, and I could have easily just been like, sorry, I'm not doing this. But that would have really just kept me where I was. So it's really, really important to say yes to those opportunities and realize that, you know, the people that matter won't care, and the people that care really don't matter. And once you learn that the work starts here, everything becomes a lot more positive, and the talk becomes a lot positive, and you understand that your worth is far more greater than any of those thoughts that we really do come up with in our brain and tell ourselves this story. So, yeah.
The advice that I would give, especially to my younger self, is to get out of your own head. Stop thinking so much. Everybody has the same feelings, the same emotions, the same struggles when it comes to judgment and self-judgment. Especially at the end of the day, we're all fighting that same demon of wondering if we're ever gonna be enough. But we all are. We just have to get out of our head and be more empathetic towards everyone else, especially ourselves, because when we're judging other people, we're not defining who they are, you're defining who you are.
What I've found helpful for myself in terms of being judgmental towards the outside world and towards myself is, number one, being aware when it's happening and not reacting to it. I think generally quick judgments, unless it's a life and death situation, don't render the best answers. So I think just reminding yourself there's no rush to make any certain decision about something, and take a moment, breathe through it, give it some time, and that might be seconds or days or even months. Time can be your friend to see how you feel about something over a longer period of time, and then we can make I think really good judgments about things and not reactive ones.
I feel a little strange offering advice because I feel like I'm still learning myself. I feel that, you know, we're all still learning, and we'll learn along the way. But if I can give any advice based on my past experiences, I would say to love everything about you that's different. Love everything about someone else that's different. I think that we should celebrate our differences, because those are the things that make us special and unique. Those are the things that are most beautiful. I think that we should love ourselves no matter what. And I know that that's easy to say. I know it's easy to say, love yourself, you're the greatest, be your own best friend. I get it. But I also know that that's easier said than done. So I think if there are days when you're just not loving yourself, just be kind to yourself. That's okay. Just take it day by day. You'll learn just like anybody else will learn. I think it's important to not make assumptions of people based on the skin color. I think that you don't really know someone until you know that individual.
Brene Brown says if we view most people's actions from the lens of vulnerability, it gives us a better understanding of where they're coming from and their perspective. And having that thought in my head has really helped me to kind of not take on everyone else's opinions of what I should do or who I should be, or their judgment on anything of any of my decisions, because seeing everyone through the lens of vulnerability just means to kind of see them from the fact that they're coming from their own fears, their own hurt, their own stories, their own traumas, and when you can see it from that point of view, you realize that it's not their judgment of you is not about you.